Back at it.
Yes.
I'm on it.
You're on it. Yeah.
My brain's like the gears are flying.
Yes.
So-
and you've got the kombucha.
Yeah,
which the kombucha is clear
gone.
mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're ready. So let's get into this one. The World Bank's annual World Development Report for 2021. So this is the World Bank.
Yeah.
This is our annual World Development Report. 21 themed it this way. This is the theme.
Who's their target?
Data for better lives.
Okay.
That's the theme in their target.
And where are the better lives? What's their focus?
Most of the focus is in Africa.
Okay, good. Let's rip it up. So tell me about this.
Because it's the least digitally connected continent. So they want to launch it in Q1 2021. So that's coming right up. Because this is end of October. No, this is November. Wow, we're right into it.
Yeah, we're cooking.
So the World Bank, which is a major international development partner, they teamed up and they want, this is what they said, on improving lives through data and technology is the most timely now for 2021. And this is particularly true for Africa. And like I said, the least digitally connected continent. Africa lands behind the rest of the world in internet access, digital device access, and digital skills.
That's correct. And so they have trouble getting schools built.
Right.
School books. Political stability of their governments.
Right.
Fundamental resources like getting water piped around. They have no water infrastructures in most places.
Did you hear about how they got in trouble with Facebook here recently with the government?
No, tell me.
Different governments. So this was interesting. So they were getting their information. So Facebook came out and said, we're going to give you phones, but it won't, if you're on Facebook, it won't go against any type of data because you have to actually buy data on their phones. Mm-hmm. So of course, what's going to happen, everybody's going to go on Facebook constantly.
Of course.
So
it's a perverse incentive.
There was end up like, and somebody have to look this up, because I don't want to be putting any misinformation out there. But what I was reading in an article was there was actually a coup that was formed off of, and people were killed based off of information that was being put out there on Facebook back and forth and relaying to where where this revolt was going and who was involved and the different families and the people, because they were posting. And
when you, and this is what the World Bank wants,
right?
Not people to get killed, but they want connectivity. But they want connectivity, and they want lines of communication to happen in a more efficient manner.
Right.
Now, to some benefit of less developed African countries that have these sort of uprisings,
right,
it's almost beneficial to have broken lines of communication because you can hide.
Yes.
Okay. You cannot expose things that you otherwise wouldn't want exposed, giving you specific risks. We know this now. Here in the United States, everything we do is so digital. Mm-hmm. We're constantly exposed.
Right.
The second we put something out on the internet, it's public info.
Yes.
And we do it constantly.
And it stays there forever.
And now this is a cultural shift. Mm-hmm. So the World Bank is saying we want to develop the digital infrastructure of these countries, right? We want to give them the affordability of this communication, but this is also another risk that comes with it at the same time. Now, in order to do so, that's going to require people to have a device.
Right.
Okay. It's going to require that device to connect to some sort of transmission medium.
Right.
LTE, satellite, if it might be Elon Musk Starlink, which is 100 megabytes per second at $3.30 a day, which is still too much for people in Africa, but it's going to work generally around here for lower income places in the US,
right,
and, other developing nations. And then I think there was another piece that they said is also a requirement.
Internet access.
Yep.
Digital device access and digital skills.
Yeah, digital skills. So you can't just, this is a funny concept here. You can't just give someone a tool, right? Jason, I've given you a hammer, and I love using this metaphor. I've given you a hammer, go frame me a house. Do you know how to do that?
No.
No, you don't.
No.
You have to be educated on the tool.
Right.
Right? Like a function of what TARTLE does. We can't just create a tool and give it to the world. The reason ours is adopted so well and so well understood is because we educate on it.
Yes.
We educate on all the individual facets of it because then it becomes something of value.
Right.
If I just give someone a communication device and say, have at it, what do I do on the internet? What's an effective place for me to go on the internet so I can learn more, do more? Wikipedia, Khan Academy, all those things.
Yeah, something that's completely understood would have ultimate value.
That's when it has ultimate value.
Right.
But if you just dump an infrastructure and then give someone a tool and they have no idea how to actually extract the full value of it,
right,
there's no worth to it.
Right.
So one of the largest facets that's being pushed here, especially in the 2021, progress report or whatever the World Bank's trying to do, is having
right,
that educational part of the infrastructure. Right. Education is an infrastructural thing.
Right.
is probably more important than all the other things. Before you even hand something to someone, let them know about it. Let them know the risks of sharing information that much, especially in a public manner.
Yeah, no, and one of the things that they shared here, World Bank focus on data and technology in 21, it should rally governments, industry, academia, and civil society.
It wants to rally them?
Yes, it wants to rally them to push for the actualization of developmental targets focused on digital penetration and adoption.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So when communication opens up,
Right.
okay, if we look at the United States, Pony Express, we have the ability to ship mail efficiently, first with people on horseback,
Right.
okay? Then it was on the train. And then the U.S. Postal Service had planes, okay? And we still have the little cement arrows that are on the ground. They're all over the U.S. if you can find them. They've lost their color. But those were the routes that went back and forth for the communication lines. And then we had the telephone line that came out.
Right.
And then it became even more efficient. And then the rest of our infrastructure blossomed at the same time because we could communicate ideas, information, money, services, all of that stuff at an accelerated rate. Whereby there's so many frictional barriers that you find in Africa with a mass of different countries, a mass of different cultures,
Yes.
religions,
Right.
ideologies, nationalistic uprisings.
Right.
So communication is something that has to happen first before you even see an economic benefit, is getting people to communicate better. That's a fundamental part of what it means to be a human being and interact in any sort of well-functioning or oiled society, is how we communicate, how we speak, share those ideas.
Yeah, and one of the most recent blogs by the World Development Report 2021 team, they highlighted this. They gave an example of the use of social media activity to improve traffic safety in Kenya. So, just that ability for them to be able to go online, look, and say, oh, okay, there's traffic in this area or this area. We have that very simply here.
Yeah.
We have Apple Maps or Google Maps that gives us the red. And
People don't know what it's like driving in Africa, though. Like a lot of them are like single track roads.
Yes.
Where it's like you're almost playing like chicken, and then you all like drive around one another. You want to know if there's a backup.
Yes.
They don't have the luxury of paved roads where 99% of our the continental United States has paved roads for us to transport ourselves. They don't have that. So knowing where those effective routes are means they save on gas.
Right.
They can get the crops from their farm where it needs to go quicker, right? They can transport people, all these different things.
Like you were talking earlier with the cement arrows. It's that building of that infrastructure.
That's correct. And so from the digital format, if you can relay that information effectively, that's going to help with the efficiencies of people to make decisions and then change their interactions to go with it.
Yeah, and I love this. They began to think about what constitutes real digital progress for nations.
What did they say?
And it says it's a meaningful connectivity. So meaningful connectivity to them, and they had this according to the Alliance for Affordable Internet, A4AI. We have meaningful connectivity when we can use the internet every day and regularly, using an appropriate device, a smartphone, with enough data, unlimited broadband, and a fast connection minimum of 4G. Under those conditions, they say, only under these conditions of user experience can the durable benefits envisioned by the World Bank's Data for Better Lives theme be realized.
Okay, only. So unless these very specific line items are met,
yes,
the system will fail. It lacks durability. It'll become fragile because one of the supporting pieces in the stool or this chair I'm sitting on, the leg is missing.
Yes.
If it's not there, then there's nothing for people to stand on. Okay, so unless that those digital structural pieces are in place,
right,
this whole plan's going to fail. So it's going to be fundamental for any instituting of, what the heck is it called? Industrial application or growth in those countries. You have to have that done first in that digital format.
But I mean, you talked about, to push back, you talked about education, and I see that they want them to have internet. They want them to have a smartphone. They want them to have unlimited broadband, minimum of 4G. But where is the education
They
part?
dropped out because it's not really important.
And maybe there may be more to this, so I don't want to push back too hard.
Why? That's the article from them right there.
Yes, yeah.
I hope they would put everything in there.
Because what they're envisioning is traffic management, mobile money, e-commerce, e-health, software development, which gives opportunities nationally and individually.
Yeah, that's great. Everybody knows that a rising economy increases the lifespan of the people there. It increases the quality of life, not necessarily the happiness, but the quality of the living, right? And it also has other tangible economic benefits to the country itself, outside of the people. Those don't happen without education first.
Yes.
No matter how much you want to just pump infrastructure in there, it's useless unless you educate people on its value.
Well, we've tried that. We've tried that millions and millions of times with indigenous people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're horrible at that, infusing our cultural religion and everything else. You know, this is a perfect example. There was a religious group, and they went into the Pacific Northwest. And I love this example.
This is fun.
No, and you know, there's 28 tribes just in Western Washington area, in the Seattle area.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so they had those, you know, big long houses, and they had totem poles. Beautiful. You know, you've seen totem poles.
I love this story. Go ahead.
And instantly, the missionaries that came into those areas thought that totem poles, they just viewed them as idols.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had them tear them down. They tore them down. I mean, you just saw them right out.
You don't worship idols. We worship God.
Yeah. And with the lack of communication and everything else, what they realized, and now it's a dying art form, and there's very few totem poles that are out there that are still original. What they found out, and what is known, is that they only made a totem pole when it was to deal with a huge event that happened
in the family history. Or even for the tribe.
Right.
You know?
So we went in there in our presumption, and that's what I feel. I don't want the how would you say it? The
World Bank to
civilized, the civilized world to come into some place. But what I thought was interesting, and Alex, you can speak to this, is that they're feeling like data is like the most important thing to boost a civilization.
Well, that's because
what is the World Bank saying about the value of data?
World Bank realizes that there's great value in data. So if you go on the World Bank's website, they have all these different charts and all this data on different countries, right? Especially economic data. But what they've realized is that, yes, industry has grown, right? But now industry has taken on this new form in the digital format, which is now the underpinning. It's actually supporting physical industry. Physical industry doesn't happen without a communicative base, without actually having all that data. So now through a roundabout process, which I could have told you, is that, and not to seem pretentious or like a smartass, but that if you can't communicate effectively, if there's no transmission of truthful information, nothing can be done.
No.
Physical industry can't make moves and make a decision without information. Information is the basis of everything in society.
So it would be like speaking is building relationships. They have meaningful connectivity. I'm talking meaningful relationships. Finding what's value, going in there and say, oh, these totem poles are family history. That's amazing.
Yeah.
How can we help you build that craft?
Question. How?
Yes.
How can we help you?
Right.
It's not about helping us.
Right.
It's not about boosting the world economy. It's about empowering you where you are in your life on your own time and measure.
But how many corporations and governments have been after Africa? It's the last huge. People don't realize how large Africa is.
It's phenomenally resource rich.
Yes.
Africa reminds me a lot of how resource rich Utah is.
Yes.
And all the, oil companies, right? Natural gas, mining companies want to get in there and just like mine the crap out of it.
Yes.
But we're trying to preserve it. Those are protected lands, but they're also the most mineral rich lands. But they're looking at it strictly from the economic view and not looking at the value of what it is to a human being and preserving that.
Yes.
So when they look at Africa, they look at it as a freaking commodity.
Yes.
Rather than a land where people live and speak. They literally breathe the same air that you breathe.
Yes.
They ship the damn coffee beans over here that you drink every morning,
Exactly.
Respect that a human being has to put in that labor. They're living their life like you, and they're at a certain state. And so you need to help uplift them to where you are. But don't force them into a model that you think works best for them.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
I'm getting fired up.
Because when in our view, and I want to close on this, Alex, our view on humanity and data, and TARTLE's view on humanity and data.
Well, they're one and the same because data is humanity speaking.
Mm-hmm.
It is humanity's interaction with one another. And so when you take the humanistic approach, when you look at what it means to be a human being and you apply that model or structure to how TARTLE functions as a whole and treating the person with that value that they deserve to be treated with, the data is just speaking for them in a digital format.
Right. It's the totem pole.
Yeah, it's their totem pole.
Yes.
The data packet on TARTLE that's the totem pole. The data categories, it's the whole thing.
Right.
The whole kit and caboodle.
Right.
It's the whole family history.
Right.
Now it's their turn to share it. When you go to that individual on TARTLE and you ask them about that family history, they'll share it with you if they want to.
Right.
But do not lop it down or take it from them, assume control of it.
Yes. 100%. I love that.
Thank you. All right. Peace out, World Bank.